What's up, fellas? How's it going? It's a beautiful, chilly, northeastern morning today, and I'm sitting here in front of a job site and looking at it and doing a little bit of reflection. I wasn't really planning on this, but as I'm sitting here, it's recalling some things to mind. In our pursuit of testosterone and achieving proper hormone levels and eliminating environmental factors that make us unhealthy and all this stuff, it's easy to get wrapped up in associating the things that we attribute to testosterone with actual testosterone. And if that's confusing, I understand. There's a lot of these, we're going to call them just high testosterone characteristics. Okay. Similar to the stuff that I referred to when talking about grandfathers in a recent video. A lot of the things that these guys had, that the guys that we look up to have, that we ultimately want to have ourselves, these elements of confidence and how you carry yourself and success and ballsiness and all these things. It's really easy to simply just associate that with high test if you have those characteristics, and to not to disassociate them if you have low test. Like you look at a guy who's just like a bum, who doesn't take any chances, who doesn't, push himself and take risks and learn skills and develop himself and all this stuff. You just associate that with low test, whether it actually is like low serum testosterone levels or not. And the inverse is applying to the same high test guys as well. But one thing that seems to be forgotten a lot, and we all know this deep down, we really do, there was a point when I was like literally spending like a good portion of my non-working hours in a day researching how to get higher levels, and spending time in the gym and things like that, but trying to get high test right through diet and through my programming and my schedule and all these things. When one of the key elements that was missing for me, and is missing for a lot of us, is simply an element of challenge. Is that every day get out there and do some serious shit, challenging stuff. And when we spend a lot of time in the gym, it's easy to simply just associate your lifts or how much weight you're adding, or what your body composition is, or maybe if you've gotten your blood levels done, maybe your test and where your levels are and stuff. But a much more critical thing, not just for your levels, but for also mental health. And I don't like the term. I think the term is overused a lot, and it gets a lot of shitty connotations attached to it. But your general well-being, okay? Your general well-being isn't just dependent on your intake or lack of intake of things like phthalates and xenoestrogens and proper levels of androgen promoting proteins and things like that. But a lot of it is reliant on what do you do in your day-to-day. A lot of it's reliant on how much are you pushing yourself, how much are you learning new things, how much are you developing your skills, your people skills, your hands-on skills. Like, what are you doing to add value to yourself, right? You can have a lot of these markers, biological markers at least, of high test or wherever you want to be, right? You can have the markers of that on paper, the results of a blood test. You can have those results in the gym with your lifts or your body composition. You might get your big delts and get your big triceps, have a 400-pound bench, get a 600-pound deadlift, all these things. But you got to step out of that, and you got to look at the real world. And in the real world doesn't measure you based on your lifts. People don't, in a way, there's, we've all probably seen the information regarding like, girls who pick guys based on like width of shoulders and shit like that. And there's like an element of truth to that, right? But the world doesn't just judge you on your lifts and your testosterone levels, right? Nobody's going to give you a job because they've seen your blood work. Nobody's going to give you a job based on your lifts. Nobody's going to give you a job based on all these fucking factoids and shit that and I'm not saying that the goal of life is to get a job, but the goal of life is to have purpose, right? And what we're actually in pursuit of isn't isn't higher test on paper. What we're actually in pursuit of is doing things that enhance our abilities to achieve our purpose. And we have similar purposes, and we have different purposes on like two levels, right? There's the objective, everybody has the same purpose, and then there's the subjective, everybody has varying levels and varying elements of purpose, right? So we can say that for all of us, the purpose is to live a proper life, right? And then the subjective purpose is like, well, what does that include for you? You know, what are the goals, and what's the end game for you, right? Does that include having a family? Does that include owning a business and employing people? Does that include creating something either beautiful or something that helps people, a product of some sort? You know, what does that really include for you? What is it going to take to get to that point? What are the challenges that stand in your way? What do you need to fix in yourself before you can even think about doing that? What can you practice now that's going to help you get there? And there's a lot of dangerous points. There's a lot of challenges, and there's a lot of things that are more so for some people than others, but scary in between here and there. In between that 20-something-year-old who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing and doesn't have any skills, and that 40-year-old man who's got his shit together, who has skills, who knows what he can provide to the world and how he's going to do it, and be happy and have good relationships and make money in the process. So let's not confuse having high test on paper with having high purpose in reality. It's something we get caught up in too much, and I personally do frequently. It's something you got to remind yourself of on a more than occasional basis, that there is more to everything. There's more to this masculinity, and there's more to the manhood and the purpose than your test on paper, than your lifts, than all these things that we can control in the day-to-day, right? And these things are good because they provide us with measurable metrics, right? If you want to know if you're getting better with your lifting, all you're doing, you need to track your weight. You know, are you adding 5 pounds every couple weeks to your deadlift? If you want to check your improvement on your test and things like that, you get your blood work done periodically and you check your test. And it's a good measurable way to do that because it provides a visual, a numerical source to tell you that you're improving. In the real world, we don't have that type of measurable success unless you're going to talk about like money, right? When it comes to your social influence and your skills and things like that, like it's a little more abstract. It takes a little more work to see the progress that's been made. But you got to have an eye for it. You have to have an eye for it, and you have to have ultimately your eyes on purpose. And so just a reminder, as much to myself as any of you guys, that is at the basis of things. Okay, the basis of things is to improve as a man, right? Test is, in some ways, it's just a byproduct of that, right? And when you get out there and you do these things that are difficult, and when you push yourself into these challenging areas, like looking at this construction site, I remember when I had zero skills in any of this, zero experience in any of this, and I kind of just bullshit my way into a high-paying construction job and made a shit ton of money doing it, and learned a lot along the way. You think back to that person and the person you are now, and it wasn't just fixing your diet and lifting and getting rid of negative environmental elements that brings you to the point you are now. There's challenges that you overcome that level you up. There's skills that you learn along the way that level you up. There's relationships that you build along the way that level you up. And it's a little less tangible than money. It's a little less tangible than weight on your deadlift. It's a little less tangible than your testosterone levels on paper. So don't get discouraged when you don't see the results of your work being manifested in real time. There's a latency with it, you know. There's a latency with getting better at anything, and life in general. There's a latency at becoming a man. But the key to it is to look back at where you've been, and look back at who you were a year ago, and 5 years ago, and 10 years ago, and compare yourself to that, and say, oh yeah, well, obviously, in regard to where I was when I was 19, I'm 1,000% better than that now. In regard to where I was when I was 23, I'm 1,000% better than that now. You know, so don't get discouraged by it, guys. Men are late bloomers, right? I challenge you to find a guy who's got money, skills, good relationships, a good body, a proper physique, good lifts, all that at 25. You know, there's not a lot of them, right? One of the benefits of being a man is that we have a long life to live, and we have a lot of time to absorb knowledge and gain skills and hone ourselves. And if you're in your 20s, if you're in your teens or your 20s, you literally have a life to do it. But the thing is, you got to start. You got to start now, or else it won't matter by the time you get any better. So that's it, guys. That's really all I have. So I'll see you around, fellas. Have a good one. Like and subscribe.